Please welcome the incredible Joanne Stephane.
Thank you so much. That was a very nice introduction, thank you. Good morning. I'm here to talk to you about uncovering culture, which is research that we did at the DEI Institute with the NYU Meltzer Law Center for DEI. See, I am a little nervous. And even though there are words all around me telling me exactly what to say that I wrote, I can't remember them and I forgot how to read. So thank you for being very friendly. We're doing this together is what I'm telling myself. Okay, yes, we are. So uncovering culture. I learned that I was not like everyone else, or everyone else was not like me. So this is me at 10 years old. I'm first generation American of Haitian immigrants. I grew up in a Pentecostal church with a significant church community, and I liked boys, but I really like girls. So I thought everyone felt like me, but we just weren't supposed to talk about it. I learned that I would be punished or ostracized for parts of my identity. As a teenager, my default settings were surly and driven, as you can see here. That first picture is a passport picture for graduation, and I got a passport so that I could take a trip. Right after graduation, I graduated at 16, and the other picture is of me sitting in front of my makeup counter, Flory Roberts, at Macy's during my sophomore year of college. So during the 80s, changes in immigration policy and the Haitian refugee crisis was happening. There was acknowledgement of the AIDS crisis, and so you put those things together, and so in junior high school, what that meant is Haitian boat people are bringing AIDS. So I also had a growing understanding of how my religion and my peers judged people who had abnormal feelings. I learned that sharing myself fully might invite taunts, harassment, ostracizing, and did result in loss of friends and of shame at home. This is where I began to consciously cover. So what is covering? To cover is to tone down a disfavored identity to fit into the mainstream. Others know that the individual covering holds a particular identity. For example, I'm Black, I'm queer, I'm a cisgendered woman. But they downplay those aspects of their identity because they understand that those parts are less favorable or less advantaged. I learned to cover, to actively downplay or hide parts of myself and my identity. I began to consciously tone down parts of myself, my sexual orientation, my race, my personal interests, and I didn't bring it up. If it was brought up, I would downplay it. I would either say it wasn't important or it wasn't important to me. I would hold back and I would try to blend in so that I could be more like them, mostly unsuccessfully. But I'm guessing some of you may relate to my experience so far. Turns out, just about everyone does. So who's covering? We learned from our latest research that 60% of all workers cover. 69% of LGBTQ plus workers cover. 80% of Black cisgender women cover. The more marginalized identities you hold, the more likely you are to cover. 100% of the Black LGBTQ respondents we had reported covering. Why do we cover? We cover because the culture we operate in demands that we cover. Here's what our respondents said. The larger the text, the more prevalent the response. so that others don't think less of me, to avoid the judgment of others, to avoid negative stereotypes, for my physical safety, for the convenience or comfort of others, to be seen as competent or valuable, to advance in my organization, to keep my job, to feel like I belong because others cover, to avoid punishment or retaliation, and to protect my mental health. I consciously covered. I covered because I wanted to advance in my organization and in my career, and it was exhausting. So, 2012 picture, I joined Deloitte. That's my ID picture. Between the final interview and my start date, I shaved my head. I did a big chop, because that's what black women do in their 40s, I thought. And, and if they didn't like it, if Deloitte didn't like it, then I didn't want to be there. But I did have a feeling that it would be just fine. In 2014, I updated my profile picture. I grew my hair out. In 2017, I made partner. Partners get a green dot on our name badges at firm events. So one of the leaders in my partner interview wanted my honest opinion on what he and I, would do to move the needle on DEI. He had pushed back on the generic answer I had prepared. I said that we needed to address issues systemically, after a deep breath, that our people were incredible, and that since we, as leaders, are the ones that create the systems and processes that reinforce the status quo, we are the ones that need to learn and to change and to disrupt. He reminded me that when we invite people into the partnership, we're inviting them to care for our clients, our firm, and our people together. And if we were going to be partners, he needed to know who he was going to be running a business with, that he needed me, my perspective, my leadership, my authentic self. 2018, that's me marching in Boston Pride under the Deloitte banner. So what is the cost of covering? There are costs. To individuals and to organizations, it is exhausting and it keeps us from thriving. We see here what our respondents have reported as the impact of covering on them. And we've compared general respondents to LGBTQ+ respondents. 82% of LGBTQ+ respondents have been negatively impacted in some way by the demand for covering, and report negative impacts at a higher rate in every category we had. Most significantly, 74% versus the 60% I mentioned earlier of all respondents reported feeling emotionally drained, a 14% difference. 71% report impact on sense of self. 71% report feeling like they have to mirror the behaviors or appearance of others in order to be perceived as professional at work. The cost to organizations is clear. I'll quote my co-author and collaborator, Kenji Yoshino. When people have to work their identities instead of working their jobs, that can be a huge tax on them and on the organization, because the organization is likely not getting the best from them. So what do? Leaders can mitigate the demand for covering. 50% of workers report their team leaders create the psychological safety for them to uncover. 50%. What can leaders do? We can foster a culture of an uncovering. 3 key points that you can read more about in the paper. Diagnose. Assess the situation of your teams, of the spaces that you're able to influence, and understand what that demand might be. Share your story so you can create space for others to share and to signal to all that people who are not just accepted but are valued for who they are and for what they bring. And engage in active allyship, which brings me to my final point. I uncovered in direct proportion to feeling accepted, valued, and celebrated for my identities. As I saw others being accepted, and leaders uncovering, I found the psychological safety to bring more of myself to work. This 2018 photo is from my 50th birthday party. I wanted orange. I wanted sequins. I wanted ancestral. I threw myself a 50th birthday party. Yes. I felt safe at work, which helped me feel safe to uncover in other areas of my life. The 2020 photo is of me and the love of my life, Laura, which I was rehearsing last night, and she wanted me to do it on FaceTime, so I did it on FaceTime, and I got to this part, and I couldn't say it. And I got really shy, and she's like, oh my God. So anyway, back to the script. Me and the love of my life, Laura, on one of our first dates at a protest in summer of 2020. This last photo is from October 11th, 2022. It's a LinkedIn post. I'd been coming out to friends and family for my entire adult life, one person at a time. At a career milestone training in 2018 for managers, I came out to an unsuspecting group of new promotes because we were asked, as the panel, the three leaders on the panel, to tell them something that people wouldn't know about us just by looking at us. And my fellow leaders had been vulnerable, so I awkwardly blurted out that I was bisexual or something, and then I challenged them to also come out on the spot, because why should I be the only one coming out here? Luckily, everybody just laughed. That is a true story. I posted on my personal Instagram on National Coming Out Day in 2020 to a loving audience of family and friends. I knew posting on LinkedIn, where it really counts, made it official. I was nervous since everyone I'd ever worked with and everyone I'd ever gone to church with could see it. So I ended the post with this message. To those that can't, are not ready, don't feel safe, or need to wait, your feelings are valid. Your timeline is valid. Your sexuality, your gender presentation, your queerness is valid. You are valid. Whether your closet is closed, the door is slightly ajar, or is busted wide open. That post got more engagement than any other post before that, or since. And one of the first comments was from that partner who challenged me to express myself authentically. His comment was, busted wide open, outstanding. So he's not here today, until yesterday I'd never told him. So I told him yesterday that he was one of the people who inspired me as an out and proud executive who creates that psychological safety. He remembered that interaction in that interview panel, and I got to finally tell him the impression that it had on me. That is the difference a leader can make. I'm fortunate to work in and to get to create an environment where I'm not only accepted, but valued for who I am and how I add to the tapestry of our culture. We, as leaders, can build cultures which reduce the demand for covering, which foster psychological safety and allow people to focus their energy on what they do, not on covering who they are. For the full report, thank you. For the full report, you can scan the QR code. I think there's also a link in the app, and I just want to thank you for letting me share breakfast with you and spending time with me. Thank you very much.